You put this little chart on the wall, and you start to look at specific customer segments and come up with ideas that you want to experiment with. After an hour discussion with 2 or 3, 4 people in the organization who know something about your business and your industry, you have a few ideas here that you can experiment with. This may generate 3 or 4 ideas about what you could actually experiment with and see what can actually help you with that strategy. Another key idea is that I want to be able to take advantage of emerging digital technologies. You'll hear about this quite a bit these days. Everybody wants to take advantage of something that's coming. Of course, the most prominent ones that you hear about is Bitcoin. Everybody wants to do something with Bitcoins. But that's just one instance and one use case of blockchain technologies. Technologies that can actually be used for many different use cases. But today it's all about the currency, a virtual currency being the hottest thing. But there are other things, artificial intelligence. How do I apply machine learning to my business? How do I take advantage of big data analytics, cloud services? If I'm in healthcare, how can I tap the data that is available through Kaiser or Geisinger or Google Health or Microsoft Health, whatever? How do I take advantage of that to be able to do a better job being able to serve my patients? How do I take advantage of chatbots to give a better user interface to my clients? How do I get a conversational personal assistance into my model? How do I take advantage of Alexa or any of the Google Home models of operation? Blockchain, cloud to the edge and mobility, platform for service, API economy and microservices, immersive experiences, Internet of Things, robotic process, all of these things could have some application in your industry. So as you're thinking about these opportunities, you need to be able to look at specific value chains for your business or value streams and see if these technologies could be helpful in that particular area. This is the step 3 in the journey, and this is the idea of how do I actually take advantage of the concepts of Lean. So Lean is really about understanding how to remove waste from your business. Okay? That's the focus. How do I remove waste from my business? What that means is that everything that I do has some process associated with it. That process has certain costs and resources associated with it. Being able to map that process and then be able to remove non-value added activities and costs from it could have a huge impact on my business performance. So this is about how do I actually understand my value streams and then take out the cost that is not needed. So imagine having 100,000 transactions of some kind and taking 10% out of it because of a change in process. Could have a huge impact. Organizations that do this well actually are more successful than others. So we want to be able to get to the point where we can understand and continuously improve our processes. Here's the detailed methods behind that. This is the Lean methodology. You start with plotting the main steps on how you create value, and I'll show you some examples here in a few minutes. Then you collect data on quality and time. These two are the 2 key factors that actually result in certain cost structures. Things that take 25 days could be reduced to 12 days, or 2 days, or 2 hours, depending on what it is, based on optimizing how you look at quality and time metrics. Finding opportunities to improve and innovate in particular process areas. Being able to investigate those areas and then prioritize the opportunities around process changes, system changes, structural changes, staffing and resources, and being able to train folks around. That's the methodology that we're going to try to put to use, and that's some of the details that you see on this side. Why is this important? I think we've all experienced this. We've experienced organizations who have poor process. We call somebody, left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing, nobody knows what's going on in the organization. Things take excessive amounts of time. Sometimes weeks, sometimes months, and we don't get the response that we need. How does it look from inside? A lot of complexity, lots of exceptions, lots of circumvention of process, a lot of information exchange that are redundant, lots of checking and double checking, lots of firefighting, so on and so forth. I'm sure you've all been part of organizations that have these as their core part of how they run their business. And they're trying very hard to keep it together. Being a value-driven organization and focusing on being a lean digital enterprise is all about removing waste. That's really what this is. Removing waste from the processes that you have, non-value add activities. You can use technology to do that, but you can also do it by changing process. You don't always need technology.
The companies are following the top-down approach. Are they doing the complete enterprise transformation, or are they focusing on some department, some unit?
Every organization is different. So there's not
very expensive, right? For doing entire organization transformation.
It could happen both. You could actually have companies, in the case that I was describing to you in Portugal, the board decided that they needed this. So the board said, let's go out and hire a consultant from outside, take a look at our technology capabilities and develop a new digital strategy. So it was for all of their operations. And there are organizations that are doing it for a specific business unit or a specific experiment or business that they want trying to get into. So it could be anywhere. But the point is that these are the kind of methods that are most useful in impacting your performance in your organization.
For example, many of the conglomerates, every year they're acquiring small companies and they're investing. So every time there is a complex system in place all the time.
Yes. I mean, obviously, if you're a small company trying to come up with a whole new idea, there's not a whole lot of process. The whole process is what three of us know. And you're trying to create something that changes something for some client that you have. But if you're a huge company like Johnson & Johnson, there's many lines of business. Each line of business is unique. You're competing with different businesses. How you compete will be different. Your cost structures are different. So basically, whether you do it for this line of business called Colgate toothpaste, that's an example, or how you do things for this huge business of moving something to the moon. Completely different processes, and both may need some kind of strategic help. So methods that we're talking about here could apply to both. Depends on what the issue is and the subject matter experts that we bring to the discussion. So again, we have lots of content, so I'm kind of running through this very quickly so you can see the concepts. But the idea here is that you want to achieve continuous flow. Small batches and continuous flow. That's what Lean brings to the organization. That is the most optimal way that you can run any process. Continuous flow. What does it do? It reduces lead times, it reduces work in process, reduces wait time, quickly identifies problems and fixes them, reduces handling, so on and so forth. And these ideas could be applied to any industry. This is an example of pharmaceuticals, from raw material and packaging to the full value chain of the manufacturers and R&D, the warehousing process, and eventually getting to the hospital, distributors, and pharmacy retail organizations. So that whole retail chain could actually be optimized at any part of this process, and the focus should be continuous. So what do we mean by value stream? So now that I've given you all of that, here's the definition for value stream. It's all the activities that an organization performs to transform an internal external customer request into a good or service. So it's whatever your customer wants. A value stream is the processes that you go through from initiation of a request to receiving that. In the case of Amazon, is when you start searching for something, you order something and eventually is delivered to your door. That full thing is the life cycle of how you interact with Amazon, as an example. But Amazon music is different. Amazon foods are different, so on and so forth. Every part of the business will be different. But it's all the activities that we go through from the time that a customer says I want something to the time that you receive that as the end customer. That's called the value stream. Okay? How do we map it? Very basic concepts. You have the customer on top, and you have processes that you go through, high-level processes. So there's a process box that talks about this is what's done in this activity, and here's the number of people involved with that. Then that process is done, goes to the next box, until the whole thing is done. For each one of these process boxes, you're going to have a data box. A data box collects information about that process that's important. Things like lead time, things like processing time, things like quality of the data that I need for that particular process to happen. All of this is collected, and then once you understand it, you're looking for optimization opportunities. I'll give you an example. So before I go to the example, actually, these are the typical metrics that I try to capture. The most important ones are lead time and processing. Processing time is the actual work done by an individual. What you find is that the actual work done for many processes matter of minutes or hours. But the actual duration could be days. It's 45 days to do something, but the actual work was 100 minutes, as an example. So the actual processing time, the 100 minutes, is called PT. The actual total duration to get to the end of the process is called the lead time or cycle time. Okay? The reason you collect this data is because you want to know where the opportunities are. You also want to understand how things sit in the queue and wait to be processed. You want to understand how complete and accurate the data is that you need to do the processing. So you never want to give bad data or no data to the next step in the process. And you want to get as much of the quality data upfront as possible. That's the least amount of cost you could incur as an organization. And there's other things. You have IT systems that actually impact how you do things, the demand rate for that process, so on and so forth. Again, we don't have enough time to get into the details of it, but I'll give you a couple of examples here. This is the customer report part. When we first start, what we need to do is for that industry, for that business, ask our customer what's important and how is the company performing in that area. And specifically how you actually doing compared to your competition. Because if everybody's doing it in 12 days, then there is no issue. But if somebody's doing 12 days, somebody's doing 25 days, then there's an issue. So you want the customer to tell you how you're performing in this area. So if you're getting an F here because how long it takes to do something is really long, then you better try to figure out how to improve that. This is the example that's filled out. This is an example of a processing of individual and family insurance policy. So a typical insurance company gets an application in, needs to process and give you a policy. So you can see here, process box, fill out the apps, packs to the center, receive, sort, and log, process the application, make an underwriting decision. Big process boxes, right? Collection of the data, process time 20 minutes, lead time 1 day, completion and accuracy 55%, 10 apps per job. Cycle time, 1 day. Then it goes into the receive and sort, process time 30 seconds, processing application 7 minutes, underwriting between 10 to 50 minutes. This whole process is somewhere between 60 to 80 minutes total from the time that you receive the request. Right now it's taking over 11 days. This is an example. So the conversation becomes, what's causing this? This.
So why does the graph go like this?
I'm sorry, Raj, one more time?
Why does it go up and down? Like
Oh, okay. Actually, this is just showing you the duration. This is the cycle time between this process and this process. So this is the output from this process is the input for this. And this is down here showing you how long this is taking versus how long this is taking versus how long this is taking. It's just showing you the cycle time between each process. So the processing gets done in X number of days, then it waits in the queue, then it gets processed, and waits in the queue, gets processed. This is an example, of course. Is it getting warm in here, or am I the only one?
No.
Or is that okay?
I guess some people were too cold.
Oh, that's fine. I'm fine. I just want to make sure people are not warm.
Just a check. Are you comfortable to go up or down? No. You're comfortable. Thank you. Sorry.
Okay, great. Is this on target? So let me just do a checkpoint here. Is this information useful to you?
Yes.
Okay, so far so good? Okay, good. So this is again an example, just to give you a flavor for the concept. And here, we're actually going to go ahead and give you another example that is simpler. This is about recruiting. I will go find somebody to join my company. So it starts with identifying the need for that resource, finding and selecting that candidate, negotiating an agreement on onboarding. 4 boxes. But it turns out all of this, from a processing point of view, takes about 23 hours. But how long it takes to get somebody on board is over 1,300 hours from the time that somebody said wants them. So lots of non-value-added activities between the time that somebody said I want somebody to the time that I brought them on board. I'm on board the individual. This is called the activity ratio. This kind of highlights the difference between actual processing time and what it takes for you to get things done. And you can see here processing time and lead time examples, what it takes to actually do this thing called identifying need, and how long it actually takes for it to go from here to here. Just an example here, right? Percent complete and accurate, as far as data is needed, all the way to delivery of all of its capabilities. So I'm going to take you to the next page here. Here, we've actually now started to say, well, who's involved in this process? There's a hiring manager, there's a recruiter maybe, there's a candidate, there's 3 systems, ZipRecruiter, an Access database, and Workday. These are the systems and the people involved in the process. And so we start a mapping process. Okay, first step is, what is the recruiting strategy? And that actually allows us to assign a position ID in Workday, so that the system knows that we are looking for a new position to be created. Then the HR recruiter posts the job, puts it also into the ZipRecruiter system to analyze the position better, then posts the open position, log the position, you get the picture. This is the process. And what you want to be able to do is look at how this is done in your organization to see why it's taking 200 days to get somebody onboarded.
And there are many external dependencies.
Absolutely, and if there are external dependencies, you want to add them here. This is the mapping process. Go ahead.
I'd like to add a comment, if I may. A lot of time, one of the biggest type of waste in an organization is wait time, and that's why processing time can be short. Because everybody is working very efficiently. But you have a lot of wait time, and so the lead time is humongous. And nobody is in charge of wait time, right? So
exactly.
It goes invisible.
Or nobody's responsible for process, right? That's the issue. And exactly, and when we say non-value added time, is exactly that, wait time. Do I really need to wait 3 days for this? Many times, no. It just happens to be because somebody has to take the file and move it from here to here, and it takes the bus 2 days to get here before it's moved to this location. We just lost 3 days.
And
simple stuff.
And every process is not critical, right? Critical process gives the priority.
Exactly. We're just using this as an example of how to analyze, because organizations don't think in terms of process. But these are the biggest cost drivers. These are the biggest opportunities to understand